Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with the coach, John Brandt.
And I'm here with the vet, Ian Griffin. Sometimes I just get lost in the rocking music that we have. I just love that. I don't know. I just like it.
I like the guy who made it, man. He was pretty freaking cool. I kind of like that. I wish I had those skills. I don't have those chops. I don't have those chops. So, Coach, we're going to talk about something different today. Something as Texans we hold dearly. But recently, a few months ago, Governor Abbott signed a new Texas gun law out there for the state of Texas, where everybody can pretty much carry as long as it's holstered. You don't have to have a concealed permit and all that other stuff. So, man, that opened up to the wild, wild west real quick.
Yeah, that's what you hear is the wild, wild west. What people don't understand is criminals have been doing the wild, wild west for years. This just allows us people that are what we call law-abiding citizens to actually just carry one and defend ourselves in case the wild, wild west happens and we're around.
Yeah, so I want to throw out some perceptions first. I've heard people outside of this state go, well, y'all shoot each other, everybody carries a gun, da-da-da-da. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you two stories here real quick about how comfortable and safe I felt in my life. One was in Iraq when my truck broke down, my commander's truck, and we was recovering it. And a major general officer came by, and his sergeant major, and I told him what the deal was. And he says, you know what? We're going to leave our 2 helicopters over you till you get done. Apaches. I felt like I was in a baby carriage being taken around the world at that moment because I knew I was safe because I had ample gunpowder. Now, the second time, I went in a church here in Deep Woods, East Texas, and they were having a sheriff elections coming up, and 3 of the candidates were there to run off and they to tell their stance on what they see of things and how they want to be sheriff. There were 75 people in there, Coach, and I bet I hugged 50 of them. And I bet I felt about 75 weapons on those 50 alone. And I'm talking 80-year-old grandmas pulling out the checkbook to donate to a campaign, pulling out a Saturday night special out of there like it was nothing. I had no worry in the world with anybody in there because nobody is crazy with them down here. And I've heard this comment, well, they'll just shoot in the air or shoot stray bullets. People down here know how to shoot. I'm sorry, we've been trained quite well down here in our Texas heritage. I'll just throw that out there. So go ahead, Coach.
Well, first of all, most people that shoot in the air are stupid to use it at the end of soccer games or something. I mean, nobody just shoots in the air. But it's kind of funny that I'm in prison all day long with criminals. And we came up this week talking about this because it wasn't just the abortion thing. It was also about the new law for the gun, carrying without a license. And so I'd ask the question, raise your hand, is anyone here a criminal, just to be funny? And they're like, yeah, right, we know we're all criminals, whatever. I said, let me ask you a question. This law that we're talking about, does this affect criminals? And I had 6 classes we talked about, and not one of them said, yes, it affects criminals. Because every single person in that class, including myself, when we had the discussion was, criminals have not been following the law anyway. Only law-abiding citizens that really care about the law. The law is only good as the people that will follow it. And law-abiding citizens that say, oh, I can't put my gun in my car and take it with me into a restaurant because I don't have a license yet. And if I get caught with it, I could lose my job or I could lose my certification as a teacher. They follow that law. What this does now is allow those people to put it in their purse or put it in their holster to go in the restaurant where 9 criminals are in the same restaurant. Those 9 criminals last week and those 9 criminals this week all had guns. And what this does, it allows if something pops off for me to protect my family or the person to protect their family that didn't have either the time to go get a class or didn't want to take the class. But now it's a time where they're starting to feel uncomfortable. What is wrong with people today that think that it's something is wrong with wanting to protect yourself or your family from a problem? I don't get it, Vet.
I don't either. And, I just laugh because this is outside optics. Listen, listen to the big media too much and listen to social media too much, having no clue. I pulled up to the gas station the other day. At the gas station, there's a dude there with a pistol strapped to his belt, as it is by law. He's fully in compliance. Now, if I had some of my friends that are in the Northwest or in the Far East they would have freaked out. And I'm like, it's a gun. It ain't going nowhere. It ain't hurting nobody. Do you know how many people around here got guns? I'm talking everybody's packing. So, and the deal is here, most people in Texas know that. So they're not stupid enough to go cross lines. I sit there and I heard somebody tell me that, hey, well, yeah, if you have people in church that have guns, they'll shoot innocent people. I'm like, dude, do you know the security systems we have in our church? I will tell you, I'm pretty impressed in how they do it. Now, I'm not talking cameras. I'm talking communications and who has which guns where and all this other stuff, not counting the people all in the church that have guns. I mean, there is no issues there. We got little bitty ones running around giving everybody hugs. Nobody's hurting a gun. Nobody's firing anything off. And trust me, if somebody pulls a gun out there to shoot, to defend people, they will hit their target in a heartbeat.
Exactly. Yeah. And, one of the things that you got to think about is, let's just think about this. And this is a scenario that came up this week. Let's say you go into a Starbucks and there's 15 people and somebody decides to rob that. This was last month. And somebody decides to rob that Starbucks for $300 because people rob for anything. And they got a guy comes up to the register and one sitting by the door, both got guns. They feel pretty comfortable that if they don't see a gun or see an officer, that they probably are not dealing with a gun. Okay. But now this week, let's say 6 people have one on their side, and criminals know, believe me, we've talked about it all week. They know that this law is passed now. They have no idea who's carrying a gun. Do you think those 2 are going to go in there for $300 and rob that Starbucks with 15 people, with 6 of them with one on their hip, and the other ones they have no idea? They're going to leave and go home or to another location. This is actually what we should want in our society. It lets criminals know that you can't just get a bullying people. You can't just take over because you are the one having a gun when you're not supposed to have one. And now the actual society is going to stand up and be able to be equal. You're right. And the last thing I want to say on what you're talking about, the narrative from the left or from some people is more guns equals more crime. I'm going to tell you right now, you look at Chicago, you look at Detroit, you look at New York City, you look at San Francisco. The stricter gun laws they have, crime goes through the roof because criminals don't stop. They don't put the guns down. They don't take them to the station. They don't quit buying them. But law-abiding citizens do, and then they get taken advantage of. So this is absolutely insane when people say, oh, it's going to be the Wild Wild West. Man, criminals been Wild Wild West long before freaking Wild Wild West came around.
Well, Coach, so a couple of things I'll say is, as you know, I did a lot of time in the military, and we deployed. Everybody has a weapon. And everybody has BBs, and sometimes we have them all in our weapons, And so with that right there, I've been comfortable around people who have weapons because I know I trust them with their capabilities. The second thing I'll say is, if you remember, I think it was in Dallas where the older gentleman stood up and they had somebody come in that was going to shoot half the church up. He came up and just shot him outright, man. And he had to be in his 60s at least. And there's a narrative out there that old people don't know how to shoot or older people don't know how to shoot. And I'm not far from that old age right there. But there's a narrative that, hey, that people around here can't know how to shoot. I can tell you this. It's a joke that used to run in my family. My grandfather used to say, he can shoot the left eye out of a squirrel at 100 yards away. I can tell you, if you shoot any eye out of a squirrel at 100 yards away, you're pretty bad. But shoot the left eye out of the squirrel, you're pretty bad too. Most people down here have been so accustomed to guns and shooting. And I laugh at some of the narratives that go, he had 1,000 rounds. Do you know that's called target practice, to be honest with you? That's why we're proficient, because we target practice with 1,000 rounds. That's why we are proficient down here.
I'm going to tell you right now, when I used to bass fish, I had probably 1,300 lures, worms. And does that mean that, when somebody does something for sport or somebody does something that they love, I'm not going to ask you how many guns you have because you can't tell me, but I guarantee you have more than a few. Okay. But what I'm telling you is this: it's absolutely insane to me when people question me as a father or a husband that I shouldn't have a gun and take it in certain locations to protect my family. It's like you shouldn't. I've had people say, I can't believe you carry a gun into a restaurant. I can't believe you carry one into church or to a movie. I'm like, if something goes down, who is the one that's supposed to protect my family? Me. And you're going to tell me that I don't have an opportunity to protect my family because I'm going to wait for the police to get there, when all you want to do is say the police don't do anything good anyway. They can't get there. We need to defund them. So we don't have enough police anyway. And I got to wait 3 to 8 to 12 to 15 minutes for police to get there when a dude's firing somewhere. No, I'm going to protect my family. You should want that. You should want me to protect your family too, because I'm going to tell you right now, you want to see a white redneck in East Texas and something go down. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Hispanic. I don't care if you're Asian. I don't care if you're old or young. That dude's going to want to protect you because he's been practicing his whole life to defend people. And I'm going to tell you right now, you got to quit putting people in boxes that, oh, well, they're this or they that. Let people protect you, because police don't have time anymore. They're dealing with all this other stuff. And if something goes down, why wouldn't you want more people on the street that are law-abiding citizens that be there to protect you when criminals are not ever – there's never been a line at the police station when they say turn in your weapons that has a criminal one in that line.
Well, so you're right. I'm not going to tell you how many guns I have, but I will tell you I have enough for each room for each occasion that you want to bring to the table. Let me just throw it out there like that. And I wish the law would allow me to take my favorite gun because it doesn't shoot far. But if you saw me with that gun, nobody would ever approach a situation around me. That's just how it is. It's just what it is. And it is. And maybe that's the reason behind it. And then I hear people throw this narrative out there. Well, you don't need an AR-15 to go deer hunting. Okay, whatever. You may not. Maybe I want to. Okay. But it's really none of your damn business, to be honest with you, is what I use to go deer hunting, to be quite frank.
Right.
As long as I ain't making the deer run around, flopping around for 3 hours, as long as I'm trying to take him out and kill him so he doesn't go through pain, I don't think it's really anybody else's business. So that's just my thoughts, Coach.
No, and you know what it is? People just want to tell you how you're supposed to live, tell you what you're supposed to believe and how you're supposed to think. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, as a man, there's certain things that I believe, and this is my belief, that a man should protect his family. He should be there as a protector. But also, who do you think taught my wife how to shoot? Who do you think taught my daughter how to shoot? I bought both them guns for their birthdays last year. When one turned 21, she got a gun for her 21st birthday. My wife got one for Christmas. Guess where they learned how to shoot? In the backyard with me showing them how to do it. Because you know what? I don't want them to be somewhere and cowered under a table and with no weapon or no way to help, or have a gun that they're so nervous they don't know what to do with it.
So I'll say this, Coach. I took my youngest son out when he was a lot younger, when he was around 10. I've taken him out before that. But I took him and the wife out when I was about 10. Now, my wife's been she's a small arms repairer in the Army, so she knows how to deal with guns quite well. Okay. So anyway, so I take him out, and she goes, you know what? I wish we would have videotaped this. I said, why is that, honey? She said, because all the narrative that you hear overseas about guns, and you hear on the East Coast and up Northeast with liberal type communities about guns, and this is the exact way people are supposed to learn how to shoot guns, with respect to it, what it does on the other side of it, how to actually show respect to it, how not to graze your muzzle at somebody and things of that nature. And she goes, I wish everybody would be forced to watch this so they could understand this. And I said, yeah. I said, you know, when I was little, and I'm about 5 years old, my dad took me out in the woods, and he had a shotgun, and he went up, and there was an old washing machine out there, and he hit the washing machine. He hits it on the thing. Said, see how hard that is? And then he hits me on the chest, and he goes, you see how soft that is? He said, now come follow me. We walked 15 feet away. He shoots the door of the washing machine. He says, see what it'll do to that? Now think what it'll do to you.
Exactly.
You know, and my eyes were open, but my dad taught me. And that's the whole deal. It's down here. I hate to break it news to America. Texans know how to shoot. They can shoot like Jethro on the freaking Beverly Hills Billies with a mirror and make it ricochet all the way around to the target pretty much. They know how to do it. So you don't have to worry about stray bullet issues. We don't have those things here. We have point on target, lead on target, as Alan Bailey would say.
Well, one of the things that this comes back to, the fundamental of this whole argument comes back to, you have people that don't believe that people should protect themselves or have a gun, or they got to tell you what kind of gun you can and can't have. Is they live in this utopian world in their mind that if everybody just put down their guns, that the world would be a better place. Well, that's called American Marxism, dude. If you believe in that crap, you're just waiting for another 100 million bodies to start stacking in the street. Because if they take the guns from everybody, there's always going to be a criminal element that keeps them, hides them. Because that's what they do. They're criminals. And guess what? Big government, they're not ever going to give away theirs because they're going to need them to protect you because you can't protect yourself. And then what's going to happen? You're going to have a Venezuela. You're going to have a Russia. You're going to have some kind of Mao's China. Somebody's always going to be there. People say, oh, well, the Second Amendment, it's irrelevant anymore because it was all about the revolution and the militia. It's irrelevant to people that don't want to understand that those people realize that in any decade, in any century, and in any government, it can get too big. And the people still have to protect not only from a bad government, they also can protect themselves from bad people. And we live in this utopian, weird part of the 21st century where people just believe that if you just sing Kumbaya and believe in everybody else's identity and hold hands, that everybody's just going to love everybody and no one's going to murder, rape, and kill. That's not life, man. Life is difficult. You have to be able to protect yourself and protect your family, however you have to do it.
Well, Coach, I'll say this is I try not to tell anybody else how to live their life. So how dare them to even think that they can tell me how to live my life. I mean, that's why we're in America, pretty much, so we don't do those things.
I agree.
I don't tell them who to date, who to marry, who to kiss, who to have sex with. I don't tell them when to sleep, when to wake up, what job to get. So should they think they should tell me anything?
And you know what, Vet? I am a Christian. And I'm not perfect. I made many mistakes in my life. I continue to make them. And part of my life, I didn't live it the Christian way. But now as a Christian, I have certain beliefs and ideologies, and I am condemned for it and persecuted for it all the time. But you know what? There are people that are gay that get married. And you know what? I'm not telling them they can't get that way. I'm still going to love them like Jesus said, love thy neighbor. There's people that do things all the time that are atheists. People do all the times that believe a certain way that is not a Christian way. But you know what? I don't tell them that they have to live a certain way or they're going to hell or they have to live a certain way to be my friend. I got friends that are atheists. I have some of the greatest conversations I have with people on Facebook. One's an avowed atheist. There's people that I have coffee with that aren't Christian. Who cares? That's the problem that we have. You don't have to die on a hill to say, I have to be something. You can call love and compromise and have a great life and just love somebody because guess what? They have the same American blood as you. Come on, people.
Yep. So this Texas law, it is what it is. And hey, I think what it will do. Yep. I think what it'll do is it will have some people thinking before they make some actions. Exactly what it's supposed to. And then if you make those actions, you may have to deal with immediate consequences, which might be 50 people around you with guns. Right. Because I live in a community that most of us have guns. I saw a stat that said only 37% of Texans have guns. I think that's only 37% of the Texans admitting they have guns. Is what that is. Exactly. Because we all know better than that.
Right. Exactly.
Because there's a lot more than that. Well, I'll tell you. So
Texas is Texas. Texas is Texas. And you know what? We have to remember in our country, the states can make decisions for themselves. Like Colorado and Washington right now, you can do a whole lot of marijuana stuff. You can't do that in Texas. But we're not complaining that you have to stop that up there because we don't want it in Texas. We just decide that we don't want it here. And just because we want to have a looser gun law here to feel more protected for our people in Kansas and people in New York and people there, that's not their business. If you live in Texas, our Texas gun law, we live in an open 50 state place that you can get in a truck, you can rent a U-Haul, and you can move your ass to a place that has more. You can go to Chicago. They have a real strenuous gun law, but you better watch your ass. I'm just saying. Yeah,
exactly. Not far from where I lived in Detroit, somebody sat there and did what's the thing called when you're angry and you're driving? They did that stuff there. Road rage. And the dude came up, pulled up next to him, and shot the woman in front of her child. Now, does that say it wouldn't happen in Texas? I'm not saying that. But probably because where it was done at, there was a whole bunch of other cars. There would have probably been a couple of cars shooting back at them, to be honest, in the state of Texas, because they would have saw it. And where it happened at, it was at a traffic jam where there was a whole bunch of cars there. And I just don't think 20 cars would have not had guns in Texas. I'll just say that. So
most of your mass shootings are at places like schools, malls, theaters, and churches. They ain't had a mass shooting yet at a police station or at a military base from a civilian just walking in, not wanting to die, saying, I'm going to kill a bunch of soldiers, because they know that those people they have guns and they're protected. People will always go into the vulnerable situation if they're going to take out a mass full of people. And that's why churches, schools, and malls are normally the places that are hit.
Well, I agree, Coach. So we want to hear what you think about the new Texas law. And we even want to hear you guys up there that are from California and all that other stuff and give us your opinion on how we should run our state.
Tell me why I'm not supposed to have my gun.
Yes. So with that, I'm going to say for the coach.
And to the vet, Mr. Ian Griffin, military, I know you have more than 2 guns. I'll just say that.
I have enough guns that if you break into my house, I will give you one to make it a fair fight. And let's see how that pans out.
Hey, that's America right there.
I'm for equal justice here, dude. We'll make it together.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.